Joining us now for a conversation on this is Dr. Edinen Usoro, the Zonal Chairman of the Association of Licensed Private Security Practitioners of Nigeria, covering Plateau, Nasarawa, Benue, Kogi, and Taraba State. And also Public Affairs Analyst Charles Uludari. Charles, you're welcome. Thank you very much for joining us. Let me first of all start from Dr. Usoro. Dr. Usoro, let's take this from the angle of the United States and the peculiar interest in Nigeria, especially the north and the violence that's been going on there. From a security perspective, how accurate is the framing that the United States has when it comes to these violence from what we're seeing here on ground, especially with the case in Niger State?
Thank you for having me. You know, the biggest problem that we've had for maybe more than a decade have been that government officials, politicians were playing down on the severity of the security crisis we had. During Buhari's time, you hear ministers upon ministers, hear government officials, security personnel saying, oh, the situation is better than it was when we took over in 2015. Yet people were being killed, attacks were going on. And then, of course, many people were saying, oh, don't mention any tribe. The crisis that was going on was just herders and farmers. And, you know, and so at a point, you won't see it in most newspaper pages. It continued until just when President Trump decided to look at the side of the hemisphere, so to say. And suddenly, people were almost saying, we are doing is better than before. They would just tell you, oh, after only 5 people were killed. So that stopped. And then, of course, when Trump came with the issue whether Christians were being killed, and government officials upon government officials were concerned that, no, it wasn't just Christians. And some people say, oh, people of other faiths, particularly Muslims, were also being killed. My take had always been that any Nigerian that is being killed, it's a tragedy, because you have to be a Nigerian first before you become a Christian or a Muslim or an atheist or a traditional worshipper. You have to be a Nigerian first. But you know, from what we are seeing, you notice that our forests have long been overtaken by these terrorists and bandits, and that they can move on to a place like the one your crew just showed in Niger State, and they finished the attack and left. And the question is that they left to where?
All right, Dr. Usoro. Dr. Usoro, my apologies, but we'll have to keep the answers summarily because we don't have too much time. But I'll come back to you. Charles, let me ask you, so despite the U.S. involvement or interest in Nigeria, we still see these occurrences happening. Bandits or terrorists or whatever you want to call them still attack schools or still attack public religious houses. You're not a terrorist, but I'm wondering what you think is going on in the minds of these terrorists, despite the airstrikes that have been ordered on Nigeria and the ones that are rumored to come.
Thank you very much. You know, terrorists are essentially attention seekers, right? So I can almost assure you or bet you that they are relishing this attention that they are getting, and they want to show that they are still in the fight. And that is why it is so sad, because, you know, we had a conversation on this program also when the attack just occurred, the first bomb blast and in Sokoto, and there was news report about these terrorists being displaced and moving around, but we did not hear anything about people like the ground security forces going after them and mopping them up. The most important solution to this thing is not American strike. It is good to have America at our beck and call should we need airstrikes. It saves us a lot of money, it is going to be efficient, and we are collaborating with our international partners, right? But the most important problem for the security of Nigeria is to have community policing. Someone like Mr. Usoro, who just spoke right now, can be a part of the leaders of the police force in his own region, and they are going to be much more effective in fighting back, because these terrorists are cowards. They come and attack such targets where nobody is shooting back. All the people that were interviewed during the brief program leading up, the brief clip leading up to this program, if you train them for 6 months and make them a part of their community policing, they will come out and fight these terrorists. Not a situation whereby, like they said, 24 hours later, even the soldier is not yet there. And these guys are essentially a sitting duck for unmitigated attack by these bandits and these terrorists.
Charles, so just a second there, Charles. Just a second, Charles. Charles, I hear you. The solution, not airstrikes, but community policing. And Dr. Osoro, of course, any Nigerian killed is a Nigerian tragedy. Gentlemen, I'm going to keep you because we have to go on a break, but we'll come back and continue this conversation. Please don't go anywhere. To our viewers, we'll be right back. Ladies and gentlemen, and before we left, we were talking about instances in Niger State where there was a terror attack and 30 people lost their lives. We had that report by our new central correspondent in Niger State, Sege Ibrahim. And with us now, we have Dr. Edinen Usoro. And of course, I also have Charles Oludari here with us. Gentlemen, thank you very much. Dr. Osoro, let me come to you now and let's talk about, well, past airstrikes, and they were coordinated with Nigerian authorities. But let's look at a situation where the operational or diplomatic risks are all American. Let's say that the airstrikes were taking place without the knowledge of the Nigerian authorities. What risks does this pose for Nigeria and its sovereignty?
Good enough. I don't think that's the situation, because immediately after the first strike, the government officials, the Nigerian government officials did say that it was a collaborative effort. But this is what one had expected that Nigeria should have been doing all through the period of Buhari, because if you collaborate economically, you collaborate in terms of health, you collaborate in terms of educational activities. I don't see anything wrong in us collaborating with our major partners.
Yeah, Dr. Osoro,
yes.
Osoro, I just wanted to point out that the communication that Nigerians got from the authority, the president himself, came hours after we heard from Truth Social and Donald Trump. Plus, he had his framing around it as a religious war. And what we heard from our president was nothing the sort of a religious war. It was just internal insecurity. So these double framings, with what is on ground, what are we looking at here? What are the risks of this lack of absolute proper communication between the Nigerian authorities and Nigerians themselves, from a security standpoint?
Yeah, I think today President Trump did try to rephrase his statement, acknowledging that Muslims are also being killed. My advice will be to the government to be speaking. Our governments, every successively, they don't speak to the people. Anyway, except that President Trump went ahead. It's always good to do these things. Strike, after you strike, you can come talk. Because by the time you tell these people, we may likely strike again or something. They're not going to just sit down in their forests or fields. They will now find their ways into the cities and be doing more havoc.
Okay.
So there's need for kind of description where these activities can actually happen. After that, both governments can come talk to the people. But I don't think announcing it before time is going to be advantageous.
Both governments
I see that as a problem, yes.
Okay, so both governments must talk to the people with a similar narrative. I get you, Dr. Osoro, but Charles, real quick, and you have to be short with this one. Does this small adjustment in the stance of the U.S. president mean anything for the fight against insurgency in Nigeria? Do you think him acknowledging that Muslims are also dying?
Well, I mean, I know you made the passing comment about that during the interview with New York Times, which was where he spoke about attacking more. It's a good thing that we have United States at our beck and call, but I cannot agree more with Mr. Osoro when it comes to the president communicating to the people, because you need to rally your forces. You are the leader. You need to walk the line. Let all Nigerians join this fight and let the people be able to defend themselves, because there's no amount of bomb blasts that America can do that can solve our problems unless we have community policing to snuff these people out. Little by little, bit by bit, we are not going anywhere. So Nigerian government needs to do the needful, restructure our security profile, allow the private security to be able to play a bigger role, and then we can start working towards our own security. For now, it's good to have America on board. It's good that they recognize that the Muslims are actually being killed more than the Christians, but we need to do our own due diligence so that we stop, all this undue attention on Nigeria, and we can have economic growth, because without security, there's no economic growth.
Well, gentlemen, I'd like to say thank you very much, Charles and Dr. Osoro. Apologies I couldn't let you finish because we have no time, but we'd love to have you guys again when we have these conversations. Thank you very much, gentlemen.